Well, I had originally made a video earlier today about this movie, but when I went back and watched it and posted it, I neglected to notice, or I failed to notice, rather, that there was this really annoying buzzing sound, and I could not subject people's eardrums to that kind of annoyance. So I'm reshooting this little review, and if you couldn't tell again by the video title. You were watching my video on Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, which in many ways is kind of an atonement for Dragon Ball Evolution. I mean, Akira Toriyama is heavily involved with the project. I mean, it's animated, thank you. And really the biggest compliment I can give it is that it is a Dragon Ball movie, which really was all I was asking for from Dragon Ball Evolution. I mean, I was so pissed off after that movie. Me and a whole bunch of other fans at that abomination, clearly made by people who did not give a crap about the source material. I don't care if they say they're fans, they're really not. Because honestly, that movie should not have been made. However, with Akira Toriyama coming back with a fresh new story, I actually had some hope. Now this takes place in between the defeat of Kid Buu and the emergence of Oob. So there's this big 10-year gap that's virtually unexplored in the series. It takes place about 4 or 5 years, presumably, after the defeat of Kid Buu, and very shortly before the birth of Pan. Now, Pan is a character I don't like, so this could be good or bad, depending on your point of view. But if you had no idea what I was talking about just then I'm not going to explain it to you, because honestly, if you actually go and see this movie in the theater, and further, if you are watching this review, then you should already be a fan. I mean, if you are not a fan of Akira Toriyama's material, the Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball Z, and even to some extent Dragon Ball GT, stop the video now, because this is clearly not made for you. I mean, this is a love letter to fans. I mean, if you are at all unfamiliar with the show or the source material, then you are going to be completely lost. Not just in this video, but in the movie too. So yeah, it takes place during that 10-year gap. Goku and friends are just having fun at Bulma's birthday party when all of a sudden they're confronted by this supposed god of destruction named Beerus, this cat-like creature who is supposedly the most powerful being in the universe. I mean, his primary function, apparently, is to destroy certain planets after about 50 years sleep. And well, basically, he wakes up from his slumber. He goes to destroy a planet or two, and then he goes back to sleep for presumably another 50 years. Okay. I mean, it's just his goal. It's just his job that he has to do. And he comes to Earth seeking a powerful opponent in the form of a Super Saiyan God. Considering there are 5 Saiyans on Earth at this point, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks, then he figures, well, maybe one of these guys will know. However, as you might expect, a huge battle ensues, and soon the Z Fighters have to band together to stop Beerus from destroying the planet Earth. Okay, so what do I like about this movie? Well, again, it feels like a Dragon Ball movie. These characters feel like their respective. They feel like themselves. When I look at Goku in this movie, it's easy to tell that it's Goku, and he sounds like Goku. I mean, all the voice actors, or most of the voice actors from Dragon Ball Z, reprise their roles. I believe they're using the Dragon Ball Z Kai cast, which I'm completely unfamiliar with. Really, my knowledge of the DBZ Kai cast is that it's most of the same voice actors with a few changes. For example, Bulma. I don't really like the voice for Bulma. I think the older voice was better. But also, for instance, Piccolo, he's still voiced by Christopher Sabat, but he's not as gravelly as he used to be. But despite that, you can tell that guys like Sean Chamel, Chris Sabat, Sonny Strait, Kyle Hebert, Kara Edwards, Laura Bailey, Justin Cook, they have been voicing these guys for years. They are very comfortable in the roles by now. They feel very natural. They bring just as much energy to it now as they did when they first started out, if not more, because again, their interpretations of these characters have much more of an identity this time around. So yeah, the voice acting is very good, and the animation. And this is actually one of the benefits of doing this as an animated movie, is that the animation has really improved over the years. I mean, the fighting in Dragon Ball Z has never looked better. I mean, the fact that they can get these very tight shots and these very kinetic this very kinetic style camera work without resorting to shaky cam is very impressive. I mean, the fighting is very fast paced. It's very intense. Again, it's very kinetic. And you are right up in the action, but you are never struggling to figure out what is going on in terms of who is hitting who, blah blah blah. So the action scenes are good thanks to the gorgeous animation. The color scheme is bright. The animation itself is a lot smoother. It's a lot more. It's a lot more alive than it used to be. I've noticed. It's a lot more lively. Let's see. And again, what I also like about this movie is that it throws you a few curveballs, even if you know what's coming. I mean, when you take the DBZ direct-to-video movies, no matter how good or how bad they are, a lot of them do follow that same formula of the Z Fighters are enjoying life, then some villain shows up and they have to work for the rest of the movie to defeat said villain. Okay, well, first of all, the villain here, Beerus, is actually kind of refreshing because he's not your standard bad guy. He's a lot more comedic than you might expect. I mean, like I said, he doesn't. Well, I guess he kind of enjoys it, but he doesn't get this sort of malicious glee out of destroying planets. I mean, he approaches it just like another day at the office. I mean, his personality, kind of complementing his cat-like features, his personality is very nonchalant, very laid back, very lazy. His design is actually kind of cool. I like how he's a cross between. He seems to be a cross between the Egyptian god Anubis and a cat, because also Egyptians used to worship cats. So he's a comedic villain. He has an interesting design. And I will even go so far as to say that if Guardians of the Galaxy had a villain like this instead of the very boring Ronin, I think Guardians of the Galaxy would have been all the funnier. But yeah, in addition to that, there's the ending battle may not turn out the way you would initially expect, especially if you've seen all of the other DBZ movies. I mean, the ending battle does not turn out. It certainly didn't turn out the way I would have expected. So yeah, there's that. So just those few little twists, I think, help differentiate this movie from something like, I don't know, Wrath of the Dragon or Cooler's Revenge or Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, something like that. You still get the fighting. It's just again they change things up a bit. However, if I had to choose one problem with this movie if I had to choose one overriding issue I had with this movie is that the middle third portion is actually really bad. And you might be thinking, heresy! But I really didn't enjoy the middle third of this movie. Or let me put it this way. It's not nearly as strong as the first third and the last third, because the first third, it's introducing us to all these characters, it's setting up the story, fine, I was with it up to that point. And then the last third, like I said, is fighting, it's gorgeous animation, blah blah blah. The middle third, for some reason, decides to focus on Emperor Pilaf and his minions, who are all preteens now, trying to steal the Dragon Balls and anything of value from Capsule Corporation. And they get into a few shenanigans with Goten and Trunks. Okay, so this may just be my personal preference, but I don't like any of these characters. I find them all very annoying. And coming from a longtime fan of the material like me, I think that might actually be saying something. I don't mean to sound all high and mighty like, oh, I should know what I'm talking about. But again, I just found the movie's choice to focus on these characters kind of disconcerting, because you have all these other characters gathered at a party that I honestly think don't get enough screen time. Like, I would have liked to have seen more of Gohan and Videl. I would have liked to have seen more of Krillin and his family. Piccolo, all these other characters. Mr. Satan, Majin Buu, all these other characters. I would have preferred to see over Goten, Trunks, and the Pilaf gang. I thought that was one of the points to setting this during that 10-year time gap, was to explore what the characters were doing during that point, because again, that's a time period in Dragon Ball Z that's very, very blank in terms of what has been shown. So yeah, there's that, but the movie never really feels long. I wasn't checking my watch any time during this movie. It's a pretty brisk movie. It never really feels like it drags too much. Part of that has to do with the lively animation. Part of that has to do with the sheer enjoyment, but also another huge part has to do with the fact that this is a very short movie. I think it's around 85 minutes, so not even an hour and a half. Makes this a quick in and out of the theater. So yeah, like I said, there is plenty to enjoy here if you're a fan. Yeah, some of the narrative gripes and choices of focus when it comes to the characters might annoy some. Even if you really like some of the other characters, or especially if you like some of the other characters, you might be a little pissed off, like why doesn't Krillin get more screen time? Why isn't Piccolo in this more? Blah blah blah. But the characters that are there, I think, do shine reasonably well. This is a very competently made movie, and if you are paying money to see this movie, if you are paying money to see Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, then you get exactly what you would expect out of a Dragon Ball Z movie. And I was satisfied walking out of the theater. In fact, I actually wasn't going to go see this movie at first. It was actually my brother's idea. My brother went with me, and I said, well, I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy. Do we really want to see another movie this soon? And he responded, when are you ever going to get the opportunity to see a Dragon Ball Z movie in English in the theater? And I said, that's a really good point. Yeah, so didn't take much to convince me, and it shouldn't take much to convince you either. Don't go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Go see this instead. I guarantee it's a better time, and it actually shows more respect to the source material. I guarantee it. I don't mean to dump on a movie that I haven't seen, but yeah, Dragon Ball has been a big part of my experience in pop culture. So seeing this on the big screen was, I think, a very special experience for me, and I hope a lot of Dragon Ball fans see it on the big screen, because it's worth it. If only for the fighting. The fighting is glorious on the big screen. If anything else, if nothing else except for that superficial reason, go see this movie. I guarantee you will leave the theater mostly satisfied. And I actually would not be opposed to seeing more of these, honestly. Akira Toriyama, I believe, has said that he would be open to the idea of doing more, and plus there are a few lines of possible sequel bait in this movie. So yeah, I'm up for more of these. So yeah, Dragon Ball Z has returned. Yes. And yeah. Will it eventually run its course? Possibly. Did we really need more Dragon Ball Z? Well, probably not. It's already a huge franchise, but the fact that it's still showing creativity, and the fact that I still like these characters after all this time, not just out of nostalgia, the fact that I think these characters have stood the test of time in terms of their likability. I don't really feel like these characters are obsolete figures from my childhood. I actually think that speaks volumes for Akira Toriyama and his work. So on that note, I'll end the video.